I've lived north of Boston for 13 years, and I love it here. And there are a few things about living here that people almost always underestimate until after they decide to move here. And one of those surprises usually doesn't show up until months after the boxes are unpacked, so I'll make sure to come back to that one. If you're thinking about relocating here, or even if you already live here and you're wondering if it's still the right fit, let's talk about what living here is actually like. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name's Michael and I help people relocate north of Boston and into Southern New Hampshire and even Southern Maine. Now this isn't a highlight reel, and it's not meant to scare anyone away. It's just my honest experience after more than a decade of living here and working with people who are moving here and moving around here every single year. Because this area is incredible. It's also very specific, and that matters more than people realize at first. So first, real clear, do I actually like living here? Yes, I genuinely do. What keeps people living here and me is balance. You've got strong job markets, you've got good schools and historic towns, access to the coast and real seasons. You can live somewhere that feels like a town, not just like a zip code, and you're still going to be connected to everything. There's also a sense of stability here that people don't always recognize until they've lived elsewhere. Communities are established, towns tend to reinvest in themselves, and people put down real, long-lasting roots. And that stability plays into a lot of other things that I'll talk about in a minute. Now, if you like this kind of content, I'd really appreciate a like or a subscribe. We put out videos like this every week for people just like you thinking about relocating to or making a move within New England. All right, so let me walk through a few things that tend to surprise people. One thing that people don't expect is how the geography really works around here. On a map, everything looks close. In real life, though, 20 minutes can feel very different depending on the town, the roads that are nearby, and the time of year, and that's the weird part. This usually shows up after the move, especially in winter. Snow and darkness and timing all change how a commute feels. People realize that their daily rhythm is more impacted by location than they would have expected. And this connects directly to how people choose towns, which is something I see trip people up more than almost anything else. For most people, it's manageable, and it's still something I encourage you to think through carefully before choosing a town to live in. Another surprise is that the cost just isn't the price of the house. A lot of people plan for the purchase price and then slowly realize how much else factors into the monthly budget picture. Taxes and utilities and maintenance of your house and childcare, they add up quickly, and especially in the cost of older homes. And here's a nuance that catches people off guard, and it varies a lot, town by town by town. Not every town includes the same services in their property taxes. Some towns include trash and recycling. Others use private companies. Participation fees for youth sports and recreation programs and clubs can also vary widely. None of this is a deal breaker though, and it's something that can change how a town feels financially once you live there for a year or two. This is one of the things that people don't regret missing. They just wish they had known about it earlier. At the same time, homes here tend to hold value extremely well over time and appreciate. Even when markets cool, demand doesn't disappear, it just shifts. And that stability is critical long term. The lifestyle here also surprises people in quieter ways. Life here is full, it's not flashy. This isn't a late night city vibe. It's more structured, more routine oriented, and more centered around work and family and community. For a lot of people, that's exactly the appeal of living here. For others, it just takes a little bit of time to adjust. And that adjustment usually shows up right around the same time people start thinking, okay, now what? Which brings me to one of my biggest surprises. And this is a big one. Community doesn't just happen here. Community here is incredibly strong, and it's not automatic. People who expect instant connection sometimes feel a little bit unsettled early on. The relationships tend to build through consistency, school and sports and volunteering and town events and just showing up places over time. This is the thing that I mentioned earlier that usually doesn't show up right away. Once you lean into it, it becomes one of the most rewarding parts about living here. Towns start to feel a little bit smaller, in a good way. Connections deepen and you start to really feel more angled. Most people don't regret moving here, they just wish they had understood this part sooner. So when people ask if I would recommend living here, if you're looking for constant novelty or the lowest cost of entry, this probably isn't the place. But if you're looking for long-term stability, strong communities, access to jobs, and a place that feels livable, not just exciting, north of Boston and Southern New Hampshire makes a lot of sense. When people are clear on why they're moving here, they tend to be very happy with that decision. So if you're thinking about relocating north of Boston into Southern New Hampshire, well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours and hours and hours of research. I've linked it down below. From top employers to the best hospitals and boatloads of other things that you need to know before making the move. The best part is that this guide is 100% free. I just want you to have the information. So just click the link in the description or the top pinned comment. I hope that helps.